my name is Amanda and I run the blog Faith in Home. Today we are going to be talking about how you can make sure that you are being a productive housewife. So I don't know if it's just me, but working from home or like having to self-monitor what you're doing, if you don't have a structure set, it can be hard to evaluate what you're doing and making sure that you're being efficient and productive. So that's why I wanted to make today's video, so you can be sure that you're being productive while being a housewife and being in charge of your own schedule. So the first and arguably most important thing that I have written down is check your heart motive on why you're a housewife and why you're staying at home and taking care of the home and your household. So if you are finding your identity in it, which culture kind of has us put our identity in what we're doing and not who we are. So it's easy to find your identity in whatever your job is. If your identity is being a homemaker, it's going to be a lot harder to find motivation when you fail, and motivation when you feel you're, just falling short of what you desire, or when other people say that you're falling short. It's going to be hard to have the continual motivation and have the desire to improve and not just give up. It's also going to be harder if there's certain things that you dislike doing to do them joyfully and actually enjoy your role. So check your heart motive. Hopefully your heart motive is to serve those around you, the people that you love, and to ultimately serve God. Because when you're serving your husband and your household, you are serving God. So if your motive is in serving and loving the people around you, it's going to be way easier to find motivation to work through failure, work through people saying that you're not doing enough, and work through doing all the chores that you don't naturally like doing. If you're not a dishes person, if you're not a laundry person, whatever it may be, if your heart motive is doing it because you want to serve and love the people around you, it's going to be way easier to find the motivation during the times you're struggling. Now, the second thing kind of goes hand in hand with what your heart motive is. So if your heart motive is to truly serve the people around you and love them to the best of your ability, then you're going to want to make sure that you're asking your husband what his priorities for the household are and what would help him succeed in his job the best and make things on his plate just easier. So I stay home and serve my husband by doing household work to help serve him and let him grow in his career and what he's pursuing. So this is something that for a while I was kind of struggling with a little bit, just like figuring out, okay, here's my priorities of what I think should be getting done in the house, but they weren't matching my husband's necessarily. So my husband likes the house to be vacuumed and dusted. Like those are kind of his two main priorities, I guess, and mine's more like keeping laundry under wrap and I don't know, just like small little things like that. But my husband really doesn't like seeing like crumbs or any of that kind of stuff like on the floor, on the counter. So if I'm truly doing homemaking to serve the people around me, I'm going to be focusing on fulfilling my husband's priorities before my own. So I will try to make sure to vacuum and dust way more often throughout the week than I would naturally do myself, because that doesn't bother me as much. I care more about clutter, so like laundry building up or like toys being scattered throughout the house, like those kind of things. Whereas my husband doesn't necessarily care about those as much as seeing like crumbs on the counter. So my priorities have definitely shifted, whereas I would only used to vacuum probably like once or twice a week. I do it every day to every other day. Granted, we have a lot of dogs, so I have to do it more often. But this is going to look different for everyone and what their spouse needs from them. But yeah, if you're trying to be a productive housewife, the first thing to do is be in tune with what your husband actually thinks would be productive. Because a lot of times what we think would be the most productive for a household isn't necessarily what our husbands think would be the most productive and helpful. And ultimately, I feel like the goal of being a homemaker is to help your family flourish. So you want your husband to flourish, and you don't want him to have to stress about certain things, be distracted by certain things. You want him to come home and be able to relax and enjoy his home. The third thing that's going to help you be a more productive housewife is you can't be a busybody. So this may not be a huge issue for everyone, but if you're social and you have a large community of people, it's so easy when you work from home and you get to make your own schedule to spread yourself too thin with social commitments. And this can be even just hosting throughout the week, like things that you and your husband agreed with, or it can be your separate plans with friends. And this is something that I 100% have been so guilty of. I was babysitting for like friends' families just for free to help people out a lot over the spring and last summer. And I would go and help these people, great heart intent behind it, but I would let things slide at home. Like I wouldn't make lunch before I left. And so this is something that for a while I slowed down in that season, and then it started picking back up. Still was a struggle area. And recently I've been super convicted that if I am going to have any afternoon plans, I need to make sure that before I leave, I make my husband lunch so it's in the fridge and ready for him. Now this might look different for different people. My husband works from home, so it's super convenient for him to have lunch made, and it's just something that helps him not take, 20 to 30 minutes out of his workday to make himself lunch. Now he can just bring it upstairs and work while he eats, which helps with his workflow. So it's a huge blessing to him. It was something that I was totally not prioritizing. I don't know why. I thought I didn't have time, but it's like, yeah, if I have time to hang out with these people or help these people, I have time to make my husband lunch. And if I don't, then I shouldn't be hanging out with these people, because I need to be prioritizing my role as a helper to my husband and a homemaker. So it usually doesn't take that long to make lunch. You can make easy lunch options or have leftovers, make extra dinner, have leftovers in the fridge. But that's something that I've been just super careful to make sure that before I leave my house, everything is in order for my husband for the time that I'm leaving. So if he's used to, having lunch made, I'm not going to leave the house with no lunch made, because that's an inconvenience to him. And this is more of a recent change. This has been like the last couple of weeks that I've been really careful to do this, because I just have felt super convicted about it, because it was like probably like 3 or 4 weeks ago that my husband, I think, called me like twice when I was out with friends and was like, "What's for lunch? Are you coming home?" or something like that. And I just felt like super bad, like I dropped the ball. So that is a way that you can be a huge help to your husband, is to make sure that everything is in order at your home before you're leaving to, just have social fun or help a family. Make sure that things are in order at your home. Or if it's like kind of an immediate thing where friends or family might need help with an emergency, that's fine. But like regular basis, make sure that you're not just being a busybody and making plans with all these people while in the meantime you're letting your household fall apart. Super easy to do. And I guess the lunch thing is probably kind of a silly example, but it makes a big difference. And I know it's super important to my husband. The next thing that is super crucial and helps me so much to actually be productive throughout the day is making a to-do list. So I actually have been doing this for a couple weeks. I'll get like in the habit of doing it, and then I won't do it for a while just because I've gotten in the habit, so I kind of know what my daily to-do list is. But it is so helpful to have it written out, and I'm really trying to get in the habit of doing it every day and just keeping it that way, because I have irregular plans every day. Like some days I'm meeting with friends and I need to write it all down so I can make sure that my goals I'm setting for myself are realistic. Because seeing it all down on paper, I'll like know like, okay, this needs a question mark by it because it's probably not getting done or whatever. And it just makes it easier not to forget anything. So here's my to-do list for today. I just wrote it down with pen and it looks really bright on camera, but it's just Bible time, prayer time, coffee with a friend, film YouTube video, make lunch, vacuum and mop, dust downstairs, get snacks for women's night, host women's night, make dinner, do load of laundry, begin washing couch, question mark, I don't think I'm gonna get to that one today, and clean cat box. So this isn't in the order that I do it, but just having everything written down, make sure that I'm able to prioritize all those things. I won't get like caught up in my day or start doing something else until I accomplish these. Making a to-do list goes with my next super helpful tip, which is making sure that you don't take any long breaks or start scrolling through social media before you have finished your to-do list. So yeah, just it's so easy if I don't have a to-do list and my home feels clean, like there's nothing that needs immediate attention, to get on social media and waste like an hour scrolling through posts, watching YouTube videos, etc. So having the to-do list is really nice to go back to because you can make sure that you have done everything you wanted to accomplish. And like some things don't necessarily need to be done that day, but it's super nice to get out of the way. Like those cleaning things that you only do every couple of weeks or every couple of months, maybe check one of those off your list if you have a ton of free time. Of course, rest days are great too, but then a rest day, you wouldn't have a long to-do list that you're trying to get through. But yeah, so make sure that you're not taking super long breaks in between your to-do list because you don't want to be doing your to-do list till like 8 or 9 o'clock at night. Ideally, I like when I'm done with my to-do list, like by after dinner, and then after dinner, I just get to chill out and relax. And so the shorter I have of breaks throughout the day, the better. And I'll still take like a 15-20 minute break here and there, but I try to keep it under that and be productive throughout the day so I'm getting my to-do list done. So try and stay away from social media if at all possible until you're done with your to-do list, because I swear social media sucks you in and your breaks end up becoming so much longer than you intended. The next tip to make sure that you're staying productive is to be okay with your plans completely falling apart. So you may have done everything else leading up to this. You made your to-do list. You haven't been taking any breaks. You got like a head start, or maybe you haven't even been able to start your to-do list at all. And your husband comes to you or one of your kids comes to you and you can just tell that they need some attention, some of your attention and quality time. You have to be letting your to-do list take a pause and prioritize your relationships. And this just comes with the whole where's your heart on homemaking? Because if it's truly to serve others, you want to serve their needs. And if they're needing your quality time and attention, that's coming before them needing you to do stuff with the house. And so good example of this is yesterday I was going to film this video, but instead Adam was talking about going fly fishing to practice, and that he wanted to, but he was like, maybe I'll wait. And so I offered. I was like, okay, well, when you want to go, I will go with you to watch you if you want. Just to have that companionship and shared time together. And he wanted to go yesterday, and I could have been like, oh no, that doesn't work for me because I had plans to film a YouTube video, but I totally didn't say that. I went with him and put off the YouTube video until today. So just make sure that you're willing to let go of your plan and your own agenda to serve the people around you, and their needs are going to vary. And some days you might have high needs, especially when you have a lot of little kids, and you're going to have to prioritize those sometimes over doing certain things on your to-do list. So yeah, just make sure that although you have a schedule and you have all these things that you're trying to be productive for, you're not gripping onto it like this, like it has to get done. Have your palms open, you have your plan, you're ready to accomplish it, but you're not grasping onto it, making sure it gets done. If things come up that are more important, like your family having needs, you can let them go, focus on your family, and come back to your to-do list later that day or, you know, the next day. The last tip that I have for you guys is to focus on the things that you were actually able to accomplish and not focusing on the things that you weren't able to accomplish. So it's super important to not give yourself a hard time if there were certain things that you couldn't get to. There may have been, like we were just talking about, things that were prioritized above that. And that's totally okay. Just focus on what you were able to accomplish, the seeds that you did sow today, and not what you weren't able to do. Don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow can worry about itself. So just focus on the things that you were able to get done. That's awesome. And on tomorrow's to-do list, you can add some of the things that you weren't. Life is unpredictable. We're not always going to be able to have full control of our lives. And the sooner we can realize it, the sooner that we can just be a little bit more go with the flow and give ourselves some grace. So give yourself some grace, focus on the good and the positive, and just continue to try to grow in your productivity. And when you first start making a to-do list, you may like totally overload it because you don't know how long things take and you just don't have the proper expectations for everything on your to-do list. But the longer you start writing stuff down and seeing what you're able to check off throughout the day, the more realistic you'll be able to be with your to-do list. Like, I feel like I've done to-do lists long enough where I'm pretty realistic. Like, if I put things down, I'll get to everything, maybe not one thing, but I'll get to everything else on it. And so yeah, don't have like too high of expectations. That's something that you'll be able to work out throughout over time. But it's super important just to give yourself grace. Don't give yourself a hard time if you weren't able to fulfill everything. Just learn from it. You know, maybe even write down how long each thing took you. So the next time you're making a to-do list, you can make something that's more practical and something where you're less likely to fail, but more likely to accomplish all your tasks. That's it for today's video. I hope you guys leave feeling encouraged and pumped about your role as a homemaker and serving the people around you. Make sure that you like this video and subscribe down below. Also make sure that while you're subscribing, you hit the notification bell so you'll really get to see when I upload. And if you like this video and think that it would help someone you know, feel free to share it. And I will see you guys next time. Bye!